Usually, when we think about movement, we just rely on basic
Right,
physics.
classical mechanics.
Yeah, exactly. An object at rest stays at rest. An object in motion stays in motion. It's, a very clean equation.
You apply force, you get momentum.
Right. You push a boulder, it rolls.
Yeah.
But then you apply that exact same logic to the human brain or like a to-do list, and suddenly Isaac Newton's laws just completely fall apart.
They really do. It's a fascinating failure of physics when you apply it to human behavior.
Because you can have all the theoretical force in the world, right? A
Uh,
massive looming deadline, the threat of losing a client, sheer absolute panic, and yet the object, meaning you, stays completely stubbornly at rest.
yeah, you're just sitting there staring at the blinking cursor on a blank document. And despite this immense external pressure to move, you just don't.
You literally can't.
Exactly. We label it psychological inertia, but understanding the actual mechanism behind it is, well, it's far more complex. The brain isn't just a rock waiting to be pushed.
Right, it's actively resisting.
Yes. When that external force, the stress of the deadline, hits a certain threshold, the brain's amygdala interprets it not as a signal to accelerate, but as an existential threat.
Oh, wow. So it thinks you're actually in danger.
Precisely. It triggers a freeze response. So your nervous system is essentially hitting the brakes while you are simultaneously trying to slam on the gas.
That sounds exhausting. Welcome to your personalized deep dive, by the way. I'm so glad we're doing this.
I am thrilled to be here.
Today, we are targeting that exact neurological traffic jam for you. We're looking at the ultimate productivity hurdle, the thing that plagues absolutely everyone.
Literally everyone.
Whether you're prepping for a massive board presentation or trying to write a novel or just, trying to finally fold that laundry that's been sitting in the basket mocking you for a week.
The dreaded laundry basket.
We are talking about procrastination. And the sources you've brought us today are uniquely challenging because they are incredibly brief, yet highly concentrated.
Extremely concentrated, yes.
You've given us excerpts from two specific texts. One is Mastering the Moment, Strategies to End Procrastination, and the other is The Procrastination Paradox, Strategies for Immediate Action.
What's remarkable about the material you've provided is the extreme contrast in their conceptual framing.
Yeah, they sound like total opposites.
They really do. On one side, we have a title demanding mastery and control, and on the other, a title leaning into paradox and, immediacy.
But the actual content.
Right. Despite these wildly divergent approaches, they both explicitly boil down to one unified, identical mission statement. The actual text provided from the body of both of these sources is exactly the same.
It's literally just 4 words: how to stop procrastination.
That is the entirety of the text. 4 words.
Okay, let's unpack this because we really have to look at the framing first before we even touch that 4 word punchline.
Absolutely. The framing is everything here.
Even though the core text itself is identical, the titles are offering us two completely different psychological lenses through which to view this universal struggle. So let's start with the first one.
Mastering the moment.
Yeah, Mastering the Moment, Strategies to End Procrastination.
When I hear the word mastery, my brain immediately goes to the 10,000-hour rule.
Of course. And the wording there is incredibly deliberate. Mastery implies an elevated level of long-term control. It implies deliberate skill acquisition.
Like becoming a black belt.
Exactly. When we think of a master, we think of someone who has dedicated countless hours to refining a craft until the execution is flawless. It's studied, it's intentional.
So it's not just a quick fix.
No, not at all. By suggesting mastering the moment, the title is framing the act of not procrastinating as a high-level, sophisticated skill that you must actively develop. It's not just a switch you flip.
But wait, if mastery takes 10,000 hours, how is that supposed to help me finish my expense report tonight?
That is the big question. I mean, isn't focusing on mastering the moment like trying to perfectly walk a tightrope across a canyon? If I feel like I need to be a master just to open a spreadsheet, the pressure of perfection seems like it would actually make me freeze up.
It definitely can.
I'd be standing on the platform analyzing wind speed, wire tension, muscle twitch. just terrified of taking the first step because it might not be a masterful one.
And that is the exact vulnerability of this approach. The burden of mastery can trigger severe performance anxiety.
Which is why we procrastinate in the first place.
Right. It's a primary driver of procrastination. But we have to look really closely at the target of that mastery. It doesn't say mastering the project or mastering the deadline.
It says mastering the moment.
Yes, this is a crucial shift in temporal focus.
Wait, what do you mean by temporal focus?
Well, in behavioral psychology, there's a concept called temporal discounting. Our brains are hardwired to value immediate comfort over future rewards.
Okay, that makes sense.
The future self, who gets the promotion for finishing the project, feels like a complete stranger to your brain.
Oh, wow.
A stranger.
Yeah, your brain only cares about the present self. And your present self really wants to avoid the discomfort of working right now.
So true. I just want to watch TV right now.
Exactly. Usually when we procrastinate, we are terrified of the macro scale. We are looking at a massive, unwieldy project that is going to take 6 months.
And that scale is completely paralyzing.
It is. So by shrinking the focus to the moment, you are attempting to bypass the brain's panic over the macro. You aren't mastering a 6-month project. You are just mastering the next 60 seconds.
Oh, I like that. You shrink the battlefield down to the only space where you actually have agency.
Yes. But to your earlier point about the tightrope, it requires a tremendous amount of executive function. You have to constantly police your own attention.
It sounds like a full-time job just managing your brain.
It's a very authoritative, commanding approach. I mean, the subtitle literally says to end procrastination.
Not manage it, end it. Right. It doesn't want to manage it. It wants to eradicate it through sheer focused discipline.
And honestly, that level of hypervigilance sounds completely exhausting. If I have to be a Zen master every time I sit down to draft an email, I'm going to fail.
Most people would.
Which brings us to the second source you provided. And it feels like a direct rebellion against everything we just talked about. We move from the high-pressure, highly controlled concept of mastery to a much more chaotic reality.
The second text.
Yeah, titled The Procrastination Paradox, Strategies for Immediate Action.
What's fascinating here is the inherent tension baked right into that title. The procrastination paradox.
The idea that trying to fix it makes it worse.
Yes, the cruel reality that the very effort you expend trying to fix your procrastination is exactly what's feeding it.
Meta procrastination.
Precisely. Let's look at the neurology of that for a second. When you feel overwhelmed by a task, your brain desperately seeks a dopamine hit to soothe the anxiety.
Like scrolling on your phone.
Or even things that seem productive. If you decide you need to get organized before you start, say, by spending 3 hours color-coding your calendar, organizing your physical desktop, and downloading 5 different productivity apps, your brain receives that dopamine.
Because it feels like work.
Exactly. It mimics the neurochemical reward of actual work. Your brain is tricked into feeling highly productive, but you are just engaged in highly sophisticated procrastination.
You are caught in the paradox.
The harder you try to perfect the conditions for working, the further you get from the actual work.
So the text's subtitle seems to offer a totally different medicine for this. Immediate action.
A total 180 from mastery.
If mastering the moment is like carefully learning the perfect swimming stroke on dry land, reading books about fluid dynamics, and stretching for an hour before ever getting in the water.
Which is very methodical.
Right. Is immediate action just closing your eyes and doing a cannonball into the freezing deep end?
The cannonball is the perfect mechanical description of this. The goal of immediate action is to physically outpace the brain's executive function.
Just jump before you can think about it.
Yeah. When you are standing on the edge of the pool, your prefrontal cortex is desperately calculating the temperature of the water, the shock to your nervous system, the discomfort you are about to endure.
It's actively generating reasons for you to wait.
It wants you to master the moment first.
But wait, doesn't the cannonball approach result in sloppy work? I mean, if I'm terrified of writing a proposal and I just slam my hands on the keyboard to break the inertia and take immediate action, I'm going to write absolute garbage.
Oh, you absolutely will.
So how do you reconcile raw momentum with actual quality?
You don't, at least initially.
Yeah.
And that's the point. The immediate action philosophy accepts that the initial output will be flawed.
It's okay with garbage.
It shifts your brain from that paralyzing analytical mode into a survival or reaction mode.
Yeah.
It completely bypasses the amygdala's negotiation phase.
Just get it on the page.
Momentum has to precede quality. You can edit a terrible first draft. You can refine a sloppy proposal. You cannot edit a blank page. Clarity comes from engagement, not from thought.
Wow. You're forcing the physics. You are becoming the object in motion before the brain realizes what's happening.
Exactly.
You hit the freezing water and start flailing until your body remembers how to swim.
It fundamentally lowers the barrier to entry. Mastery requires perfection. Immediate action only requires velocity.
Okay, so we have these two beautifully opposed philosophies presented in the titles of your sources.
Very different approaches.
We have the monastic high cognitive load discipline of mastering the moment, and we have the chaotic bypass the brain cannonball of immediate action.
The tightrope walker and the kid screaming at the public pool.
Exactly. But when we actually open up the source material, when we look past those elaborate psychological promises in the titles to the actual text provided,
The stark reality is that the texts are completely identical.
it's so funny to me.
Both texts offer exactly 4 words of content: how to stop procrastination.
Nothing else. No elaborate diagrams mapping out the dopamine pathways.
Yeah.
No 5-step plan for calendar color coding. No worksheets. Just the core question itself, stated as a blunt directive.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the identical ultra-minimalist nature of these excerpts is actually a profound psychological tool.
Wait, really? It isn't just a lack of information?
No, it's an intentional removal of hiding places.
Explain that. How is a lack of information a tool?
Well, think about the cognitive load of complex systems. When a self-help book gives you a 50-step system to stop procrastinating, what do you do with it?
I read the 50 steps, I highlight them, I make flashcards, I debate whether step 4 should actually come before step 3.
Right, and you feel incredibly busy. You are deeply engaged in the system.
Oh, I see, but I haven't actually done the task I was avoiding.
Not at all. Complex systems are the preferred hiding place of the procrastinator. They provide an endless playground for that meta-procrastination we talked about earlier.
Wow, that is insidious.
By stripping away all the philosophical jargon, whether it was framed as mastery or a paradox, the author intentionally removes your ability to hide in the methodology.
The journey is violently reduced down to the raw, bare, essential need.
So what does this all mean?
Yeah, for you, the listener, sitting there with these two sources, what does it mean that the text just bluntly says how to start procrastination?
It's confronting.
To me, there is an incredible, almost mocking humor in this. It's like asking your GPS for directions to a difficult destination, and instead of giving you a route with turns, highways, and landmarks, the screen just goes blank and flashes the word arrive.
The simplicity is terrifying because it forces accountability.
But is a map that just says arrive actually useful? It feels kind of dismissive.
In what way?
Well, it reminds me of the old joke where a patient goes to the doctor, raises their arm, and says, "Doctor, it hurts when I do this." And the doctor just says, "Then stop doing that."
Right, classic joke.
It's entirely accurate, but it doesn't feel helpful when you're the one in pain.
It feels dismissive because we are conditioned to believe that complex problems require complex solutions.
We want the 50 steps.
We assume that because psychological inertia feels insurmountable, the cure must be a sophisticated, multi-layered strategy. We consume endless deep dives, articles, and seminars, hoping that someone has discovered a painless, effortless neurological hack.
A way to bypass the discomfort of starting.
Exactly. But these sources, through their extreme brevity, are asserting a hard truth. There is no magic bullet.
The friction is unavoidable.
It is. The discomfort of changing your state from rest to motion cannot be strategized away.
Whether you are carefully stepping onto the tightrope with a masterful mindset or doing the reckless cannonball into the freezing water, The initial shock of the work is identical.
The text is acting as a mirror.
Mm-hmm.
It's telling you, look, you already know what you need to do. You don't need another philosophy.
Yes.
The how is irrelevant compared to the what.
It's treating the listener like an adult. It's saying, we aren't going to hold your hand and give you a coloring book of productivity hacks.
You know the mechanics. Apply the force.
Yeah, it perfectly bridges the gap between the two seemingly opposite titles. How do you achieve the mastery of the moment? By stopping procrastination and doing the thing.
Exactly.
How do you resolve the paradox and take immediate action? By stopping procrastination and doing the thing. The mechanism of action is identical, regardless of the psychological costume you put it in.
It's all the same underneath.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, let's pull these threads together for you. You came to us with this ultimate puzzle, armed with two different conceptual frameworks wrapped around a singular, blunt truth.
On one hand, you have the mindful presence and the deliberate control suggested by mastering the moment.
The tightrope.
Yes. This is the approach of managing your temporal discounting.
Right.
It's shrinking your focus down to the immediate present, ignoring the massive paralyzing weight of the whole project.
Just focusing on the next 60 seconds.
Utilizing your executive function to just focus on the next right step.
And on the other hand, you have the raw, uncompromising momentum of immediate action.
The cannonball.
The recognition of the procrastination paradox, where planning the work becomes a dangerous substitute for doing the work. Bypassing the brain's risk assessment center and throwing your physical self into the task before your amygdala has a chance to talk you out of it.
And tying them both together is the stark, unadorned reality of their shared core message.
How to stop procrastination?
It is a structural reminder that all the theory in the world ultimately bows to the simple, undeniable, and often uncomfortable requirement of just starting.
The map that just says arrive, it's brilliant in its cruelty.
It really is.
You can actually combine these approaches, though. You don't have to choose between the tightrope and the cannonball.
How so?
You can use the mindset of the cannonball to initiate the action, to short-circuit the brain and just get in the freezing water. And then once you're in, once the inertia is broken, you can use the mindset of mastering the moment to keep swimming,
Oh, I see.
stroke by stroke, second by second, without panicking about the distance to the other side of the pool.
It's a highly effective synthesis. You use raw momentum to shatter the psychological inertia, and then you use mindful presence to sustain the motion once the initial adrenaline wears off.
But before we let you go, before you close this audio and face whatever task it is that you've been putting off, that spreadsheet, that laundry, that novel, there is one final angle to this that we really have to consider.
Well,
Something that builds right on the very existence of these sources and the entire premise of this deep dive.
the final unavoidable layer of the paradox.
Precisely. Because if the core goal, the stark reality at the absolute bottom of all this, is simply the raw, unadorned instruction of how to stop procrastination.
If the extreme simplicity really is the strategy, because it removes all hiding places,
Then does spending time analyzing these strategies actually become the problem?
it's a vital question. Does gathering sources on the topic, reading about the nuances of mastery versus momentum, and listening to an in-depth analysis of psychological inertia actually become a highly evolved, deeply stealthy form of meta-procrastination itself?
Are you, right now, caught in the ultimate procrastination paradox?
It's very possible.
You've been preparing to act. You've been listening to us unpack the physics and the neuroscience of getting started. You've been standing on the edge of the pool, studying the temperature of the water with us.
But remember Isaac Newton and the object at rest.
Exactly. You can have all the theoretical knowledge and psychological framing in the world, but until you physically initiate the task, you are still stubbornly at rest.
You haven't moved.
So the question is, are you going to stay on the platform studying the physics of the cannonball, or are you finally going to jump?